Greetings, duelists, and welcome to another deck report. This is Season 5, week number 20, if I'm not mistaken, which is quite a long time now. I do think we will get a Forbidden Limited list very, very soon. Maybe right after the WCQ, or, well, I don't know why I said WCQ, the World Championships. You already know. So yeah, we're on Dracotail again. This might become my last Dracotail profile unless I play like the Worlds event that they do every year, which I'll probably do play Dracotail for that event. But yeah, this has been a lot of fun. I have a really good time experimenting with this deck. I do think the deck is still not exactly where I want it to be, but it's like almost 100% there. Like, this probably is my favorite list so far. I have done fairly well with it. This week was kind of strange. I did play at 2 locals. I finished X1 on Thursday, and I will explain that loss. And I actually did lose a couple of games on Sunday, which was mainly due to variance. I lost against a burn deck, and the guy activated the Heavily Prison on me with 5 set cards, and I couldn't get rid of his back row, and it was entirely burn cards and reflect cards, so I couldn't do a lot about that. I also lost to Life Twins, and the same way I lost to Life Twins on Sunday is the same way I finished X1 on Thursday, which I will talk about that after I go through the list. Which is kind of unfortunate, because when you see a pattern and you notice how a similar way of losing with this deck happens, it kind of already tells you that this deck does have a clear weakness, which, you know, every single deck in the game does need a weakness. It can't be like a tier 0 deck. We already been through that in the past, and you know, sometimes they're favorable because of pro players like crafting against each other, but sometimes they're not. Anyway, I'll go straight to the list, and we'll talk about it as we go along. So, 3 Lucias, 3 Femina, 3 Malulu, Urdula Pan, so that's the 11 Dracotails, 3 Squamata, Beast, Hedgehog, Dragon, and Wendy. So 7 Shaddolls now. We will talk about that. Double Cartesia, triple King of the Swamp, basically more ways to fusion summon. Then the 3 Tearlament monsters. And then we have hand traps. We got the 1 Nibiru, the 2 Parolia, the 3 Fualos, the 3 Rescue Ace Impulse, and the Fire Attacker. So that's it for monsters. It's 36 monsters now, which is quite hefty for a Dracotail deck. That's probably more than most people that you've seen so far. So spell cards, you got the 3 Ketu, the 3 Rahu, the 3 Super Polys, regular Poly, and Shaddoll Fusion. And then you have the 2 Dracotail traps and the Schism. So that is exactly 50 cards. I don't know if you guys saw Joshua Schmidt's deck profile on Dracotail. He talked about, I will post it in the description for those who haven't seen it. I do kind of want to talk about it a little bit, because he did brought up a few points with his Dracotail experience that kind of overlap the ones with mine. The first conclusion that he arrived with was that it was kind of awkward seeing like the Dracotail cards like very early, like seeing too many copies of redundant spells. That has happened to me in the past. That's one of the reasons the deck is a 50. I don't want to see these cards too often, like at too many copies. And I know you're running the risk of just not seeing your Dracotail cards, but I feel like playing Shaddolls and Tearlaments and Blazing Cartesia and your plethora of hand traps, like as a side engine, actually does work out. I have won games just by playing Shaddoll cards, or just by playing grab with no control, and just playing with the tier monsters. And I do see the Dracotail cards enough times. I think there are like 18 Dracotail cards in total here, which is a fair amount. Well, 17 plus the 2 traps, so that will be 19. But yeah, I do like this ratio for that reason. Another thing that Joshua brought up is like how he would prefer to have other ways to mitigate like your hand advantage with your fusion, when you're doing your fusion summons, which you cannot do that if you're playing too many hand traps. That's why you see me play like the hand replacing hand traps. That's why you see the Fire Attacker. That's why you see Fualas. That's why you see Perulia. I've been seeing a lot of people cut Perulia from the main deck now. And I do understand, like, Perulia is not a really strong hand trap in this particular format. But it is another hand trap that can replace itself. Like another monster that replaces itself. And worst case scenario, if you're not, like, needing the Perulia, you can just use it as fusion fodder and replace it for something else, which you normally do with the Rahu Dracotail card. I love the Rescue Ace package. I think that package is staying in this deck. It's actually a lot better now because of the 3 Squamatas. So if you saw the Shaddoll video I posted the other day, I'm switching topics now. You know how I prefaced, like preluded that I was playing 3 Squamatas instead of 1 now. By doing this, you essentially are giving yourself the flexibility to tutor into any Shaddoll that you want or need in any situation. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're facing against the Dracotail mirror match, and your Dracotail opponent is using the Dracotail cards to either set Rahu or set Ketu, right? They have like one of these 2 cards set. You can find mana away Squamata, and then Squamata can dump like Shaddoll Dragon and use the Shaddoll Dragon to pop their spell and trap that they just set, which is really, really helpful. Against like Yummy, if they are on the Akroki strategy, since a lot of Yummy players are placing Akroki when they're going first now instead of Minion, just so they can just keep board presence against like this deck. You can Shaddoll Dragon and just pop the Akroki, and that already puts them in a very awkward spot because now they have to deal with your Dracotail removal while also without their way of recovering. There's also scenarios where if your opponent is trying to go for game with the Yummy deck and they have the Minion on the board, you can Squamata into Dragon, Dragon pop the Minion, and all of a sudden they can't OTK you anymore. Which, you know, does come up. So yeah, that's it for that. Well, worst case scenario, you can Squamata into Hedgehog, Hedgehog add another Squamata, and just keep the Squamata for another turn if you just need any other Shaddoll. So yeah, I just really like this flexibility behind Squamata. I've seen a lot of Shaddoll lists or a lot of Shaddoll Dracotail lists that just play multiple of other Shadolls, and I really don't get that. I just think Squamata is just the best one because Squamata is literally any Shaddoll you want, and not only that, it's also deck thinning. So I actually did not regret this choice. I'm probably gonna keep doing this moving forward. I think the other Shaddoll ratios are perfectly fine. I also still like Wendy. I just like having the ability to make Apkalone with the Shaddoll fusion. I've also done Squamata for Wendy and Wendy to set Hedgehog or Shaddoll Beast just to set up on your opponent's turn, which is something that actually can come up as well. So yeah, like, I'd say if you're on a more Shaddoll-centric build, like I am, and you just want the best utility out of all your Shaddoll cards, I think 3 Squamata is a good idea. I did not regret this choice. This actually came up for me a couple of games. I won a game against the Dracotail Mirror this week because I had the Fire Attacker. And with the I have the Impulse. I went Impulse for Fire Attacker and Fire Attacker to dump Squamata. And Squamata to give me Shaddoll Dragon, and Shaddoll Dragon to pop their said Dracotail trap. That way, I pretty much just played around it on his own turn. So, yeah, in case you asked, they summoned Lucius. That's how they triggered the Impulse. So, yeah, that's it for that. I did play against White Forest the other day as well, and this also came up. Like, Impulse into Fire Attacker, them activating the Sinful Spell's Deception, and then this for Squamata for Dragon pop pop that card, and they no longer have access to the Azamina cards. Against Blue Eyes, this is also devastating. Like, imagine you're playing against Blue Eyes, the guy has True Light on the board, and then you just have access to Squamata and to Dragon. Like, so basically what I'm trying to tell you guys is Squamata is like a 4th copy of any of these Shaddolls. It's a 4th copy of Beast, it's a 4th copy of Hedgehog, it's a 4th copy of Wendy, it's a 4th copy of Dragon. So yeah, don't knock it. I think this is actually good. Alright, so that was the big change this week. You probably noticed how I took out Pearl Rhino and I just kept these 5 spells alongside the Dracotail spells. I honestly do feel like this is enough. Like, depending on what matchup you're facing, you can just like change accordingly to your side and just play like other non-engine cards. But at least for the main deck, you just want to fusion summon. You just want to fuse on your turn, like on your game 1. That's why you see a lot of people just playing like the Dracotail spells and not playing anything else. The people who are playing King of the Swamp, they play the Poly, but they usually just stick to like 7 spells. They just want to play as many monsters, which is like above 30 monsters. We're also doing that, but we're also like keeping these cards in. I'm pretty much an old head. Like, I really like the old days of 2014 when Shaddoll was just really broken because of super polymerization. For those who don't know, Shaddolls is the reason this card actually got banned in the first place. And this card was in the forbidden list for a long time. Now it's back at 3, and it's still as strong as ever. But yeah, that's it for the main deck, right? I don't think I did too many different things here. Nibiru overperformed this week. I actually do want to play a second Nibiru now. I will talk about that when we go to the side deck. And I'm still on the 3 tier monsters. Fun fact, I still don't see Merly enough times. I saw Merly one time this past week. It was against the burn deck, so no help there. But yeah, I really like these ratios. A lot of people are like mentioning how you should play either one or the other between Cartesia and Swamp. I just like both. I just think both work perfectly fine for me. And I still like Schism. I still the ability to just make Winda like by other means besides just your Dracotail cards is just really helpful. I've also broken boards with this by just making Apkalone and making Construct and just like pushing through with those cards. Main deck. Extra deck. SP, Secretarian, Mud, Dracos, Tapelia, Garura. New addition, we have a Guardian Chimera now. We're still on Rokalos. We have the 4 Shaddolls. and we're still on two Arthalions. I haven't needed the third one in a while. So let's talk about Guardian Chimera. So this was Dragoon last week. I just reached the conclusion that you just don't need Dragoon. Joshua Schmidt also got to the same conclusion when he did his profile. I really like the utility behind Guardian Chimera, just making sure that if you go second, it just makes King of the Swamp a better card. King of the Swamp, I usually sided it out like before playing this card. Now there's like a better incentive of just keeping it in. I tied my tongue there. Yeah, this being 3300 is also really big. Like, it can run over a lot of cards. This being untargetable makes it really strong against Yummy. Like, the Yummy deck has a really hard time dealing with this card. So yeah, overall, I did like Guardian Chimera. I will keep it around. I didn't summon it that much during this week, but the times that I did summon it, it actually did put in work. And as long as I'm playing the tier monsters, I'm gonna keep the Royal Kalos. I think Royal Kalos is just really strong this format. Especially against the Yummy deck, when they tag out their synchros and you have this on board. Since this doesn't destroy to negate, this stays on board. Something that probably a lot of people don't know about, or some people do, but they just forgotten. So that does come up. Alright, so side deck. 3 Phantasme, we're still on Phantasme. A new addition is Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. We'll talk about that one. We got the second Nibiru. We got the 3 Book of Eclipse. We got the 3 Tactic Thrusts. We have the Talent. We have the Duster. And we have Skill Drain. So I took out Rivalry. There's not that many Vanquish Souls in my locals. There are still 1 or 2 around. But I just feel like I'm a little bit more comfortable just facing Vanquish Soul. And since there's not that many in my area, I just want to focus against other decks. Or other strategies specifically. So I took out the Rivalry. I kind of want to talk about this because this is a topic we haven't brought up on this channel yet. A lot of people just side deck monsters in Dracotail. They side deck Fenrir, they side deck like the other hand traps, they side deck stuff like Droll, Ogre, etc. So the reason I'm playing this many cards, well, this many different cards rather, like in my deck, it's because of Herald of Arclight. My loss on Thursday was against Yummy. I finally lost against Yummy. I played over 20 matches against Yummy and I finally lost 1. And that loss contributed to Herald of Arclight. So my hand going second against the Yummy player was... It was Malulu. It was Urgula. It was Malulu Urgula. 2 Rahu Dracotails. And Fualas. And against my Yummy opponent, I activated the Fualas, and it got called by the Grave. They called by the Grave negated my Fua. So I'm stuck on these 4 cards, and they're allowed to combo off. And my draw for turn was Perulia. I'm not beating Yummy with this hand. And the reason I'm not is because of Arclight. Because of Arclight being on the board, this is a soft floodgate against our deck. I normal summon my Malulu because my win condition was trying to use Malulu to fuse away Malulu and Perulia into Arthalion. Well, it was to make Gulamel, and use the Lulu to try to negate the Herald, so I can then activate Rahu and then just pick apart their board. Unfortunately, my Yummy opponent did have Imperm, and they Imperm negated my Malulu. Which I can't do too much about with this current hand that I had. It's just one of those games where it's just uncontrollable. You can't do too much against your Yummy opponent if they open very specific and you open very specific. Eventually, I was going to lose to Yummy. It just had to happen. But going back to Call by the Grave, I kind of want to talk about this card. Call by the Grave is the reason I'm citing the Ghost Bell in Haunted Mansion. My lose rate against this card has been above 80%. I've lost so many games this format because of the Call by the Grave. I probably lost to Call by the Grave probably like 8 to 9 times now. I got second in like a box tourney, in a multiple box tourney because of Call by the Grave. I bubbled out of a double case tourney because of Call by the Grave. I finished X1 on Thursday because of Call by the Grave. And I lost against my live twin Feedsmith opponent on game 3 because I had 5 mana to try to stop him from comboing off, and he had a Call by the Grave for the 5 mana. This card is the bane of my existence. Probably the bane of the existence of other Dracotail players. And I just had a very difficult time against this card. That's why the Ghost Bell is in the side deck. It's still RNG. I still need to draw the Ghost Bell. I still need to be in a position where that interaction is favorable. And at the end of the day, this card is a limited card. It is a one-off that not everybody will have in their main deck, and not everybody will have like in every duel. Fun fact, I don't know if you people saw the UK Open this past weekend, but one of the Mitsurugi players that made the top 4 almost didn't play this card, and they got convinced otherwise, and this actually worked out for them. So this card is pretty much a staple this format, most likely. I'm not playing it in my deck because I just feel like the other breakers I kind of want to prioritize on. But yeah, this is a really good card this format, especially against this deck. So I just kind of wanted more ways to counter it. That's why Ghost Bell is in my side deck. This also overlaps against certain matchups. This card is actually really good against Yummy, especially when they tag out their synchros. You just pop the Ghost Bell and they lost that synchro. Against Malice, this card is also good. Like, it's not like the best card against Malice, but you know, between this and Phantasme, you kind of do have a good suite against Malice without needing to play Lancia. But yeah, I don't disagree with Ghost Bell. Fun fact, that live tune opponent, I Phantasmate them one turn later, and then Phantasmate drew me into the Ghost Bell. So, it's kind of hindsight, right? Like, if I would have seen the Ghost Bell first, I probably had the counter for the Call by the Grave, and I probably would have won that match. But again, you know, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! So, going back on the topic of Herald, or topic about other cards in general, cards that just floodgate you out of the game, monsters specifically, you kind of just want better answers for them. And these cards are good for that. This is also fairly good against Vanquish Soul. This card doesn't hurt you that much because you can fusion with face down monsters as well. This also is really good when you combine it with Nibiru. And I kind of want to talk about Nibiru. I Nibiru'd a lot this week. Like, I think I resolved Nibiru like 5 times this week. Nibiru was really, really good for me. And this is why I'm like contemplating on maybe maining the second copy in the deck. There was one game I won because my hand was Phimena Nibiru, King of the Swamp. It was Phimena Nibiru, King of the Swamp. Let's see if we can find it. I don't remember the other two cards, but that was my hand. And something I did was I Nibiru'd my opponent. And before your opponent ended the main phase, I Phimena'd to fuse away the Nibiru and the King of the Swamp to make Gragwignall. For those who don't know, Gragwignall is a spellcaster, so you can't legally make it with Phimena. And then I went I went Gragwignall to dump Apkalone, and then I went Apkalone to add Shaddoll fusion. And alongside the Shaddoll fusion, I think I dumped a tier name. I think that's what I had. And with the tier name, I fused away the Apkalone, and I made Dracotail. Actually, no, I did not make Dracotail. I made the Rokalos with the King of the Swamp. That's what I did. So yeah, that was the play I did against my opponent. You can only do this if you're playing the tier cards with King of the Swamp. But it was a really strong play. And this is like the really cool and creative thing about Dracotail. You can do so many cool things that your opponent just won't expect with Phimena. Not just the typical Arthalion, not just the typical Winda. Like, you can do really cool stuff like the Gragwignall play. And this is another reason why I really liked King of the Swamp alongside Blazing Cartesia. This is a really strong like play on turn 1. And your opponent's turn. And it's just way too much card advantage. So yeah, I think I brought up everything I wanted to talk about involving Dracotail, at least with this current list. I really did like this list. I actually was very motivated. It was a shame that I didn't top on on Wednesday. On Sunday, I don't know why I'm getting my days mixed up. Unfortunately, I did lose out on Sunday, but it is variance. I can't just win every tournament. There are some days where it just doesn't go well for you. And that's okay, because I've been actually really enjoying this format, despite that. If my losses are going to be because of like unfortunate circumstances like those, and not because of how strong the other decks are in the format, so be it. It is really annoying to get called by the grave like 9 times in a tournament and just losing every single game to it. It is really annoying for that to happen. But, you know, if it wasn't called by the grave, it was probably the Vanquish Soul deck, which is already a bad matchup. Or it probably would have been something else, like a Retaliating Sea. That card would have been very devastating to deal with. Sadly, my undefeated record against Yomi is now broken. Shouts to Carlos Baez. He was my Yomi opponent that he beat me on Thursday. It was his first tournament with the deck, and he actually played it phenomenally. He actually finished undefeated. So, yeah. I guess the last thing I'll say is like, despite the World Championship tournament happening this next week, which I will probably take this deck to, I'm gonna want to experiment with other decks. I think I got Dracotail to the level I wanted it to. And for everybody else who's keep experimenting with Dracotail, who's still trying to find that list that is comfortable for them, I'm rooting for all of you. Like, it doesn't have to be my Shaddoll tier build. It could be like the hand trap build, it could be the K9 version, it could be like other versions. I just really like this one. This one is just really good for me. And yeah, until then, keep practicing and keep dueling.